Leg 4 of the Derby City 6 is the 10th race on Churchill's Saturday card. It's the Kelly's Landing. It's an ungraded stakes for 250,000, run at 6.5 furlongs for 3-year-olds and up. And that extra half panel, I think, has a lot of bearing on this race. We'll look at the field, and you see Bango, the sentimental favorite, the all-time winner in wins, leader in wins at Churchill Downs, I believe, with 11 or at least tied. You've got Anchor and Close the Game Sugar, who most recently ran at Churchill Downs. The ubiquitous Hoist the Gold, who always seems to find his way into a stakes race on a big day. Tejano Twist, the sprint closer. And Anarchist coming in from the West Coast, and then rounding out the field with Spankster and Rivet. So we take a look at this field, and we'll go through them one at a time. Rivet is a horse that I think Steve Asmussen is trying to reinvigorate, trying to figure out what to do with him. His form seems to be really off. He just put him on turf. He's tried to a couple of times, I think, just to get him going again. And from what he's been doing most recently, it really doesn't seem like he's a good fit here. Rivet seems to be more effective when he's run aggressively and up on the lead, and they really haven't been doing much of that lately with him. And it just looks to me like his form's off, and I want to see him. I want to see a start out of him before back on dirt before I get excited about him. And I just think there's other options here, and I'm going to let him go. From the pace pressers, Hoist the Gold is my pick to win this race. I think this is an optimum scenario for him. The Met Mile was a deceptively good race. He pushed National Treasure all the way around the track, and while it looked like he was backing up in the stretch, he somehow found some grit, found a way to re-rally, and he damn near got second from post time where you thought he would be backing up. So third off the layoff, I think Hoist the Gold is in very good form, and being running on the front end ever since they've done that with Johnny Velasquez, told him to start running this horse on the front end. He's been much more effective, and I think he's got a really good scenario here. I like Hoist the Gold. Close the Game Sugar. If you go back and watch that race 2 back with Anchor at 6.5 furlongs, it seems like the distance is really a problem for him. Running at longer distances seems to be a detriment to Close the Game Sugar. He's not running at his best. 6 furlongs is where this horse wants to be. Just came off of a race where he ran, I believe it was his career high. And given the fact that he's now running at a distance that maybe he doesn't want, I'm thinking there might be a regression here. Anchor had plenty in the tank when they ran at 6.5 furlongs, and they were 1-2 most of the way around the track, and Close the Game Sugar just couldn't stay with him. And it looks to me like that extra half panel is really a problem for him. So I'm going to let him go. Likely for a horse who's going to be an underlay as well, given the fact he's trained by Phil Bauer, whose barn is a little subpar for this meet so far. Anchor is a horse who likes 6.5 furlongs, is proven at it, has won at it, and that race 2 back showed me that this is a prime distance for this horse. I'm not sure about the top end to win this race, but I think Anchor is in good form, and he's certainly a horse you want to be using in your exotics. Not quite sure about a win candidate. Bango is a sentimental favorite, as we mentioned. You know, he loves Churchill Downs, has won here quite a bit, but last year, he was going for the record, and he hit his career high at 6, and his form has been declining steadily since. And that includes a couple times where they freshened him up. And they have freshened him up for this race. But if a freshening didn't help him, I have a feeling Father Time maybe has caught up with him. The silver lining to me is the fact that if you look at his pace fractions, he runs faster on the front end than anybody in this race. And if they can somehow get him to slow it down a little bit and not run quite as crisply as he normally does, that may allow him to have something in the tank late. We know he has back class. We know he loves the track, but I think there's some big question marks as to his form in this race. I can go with him either way. I think the optimum is probably underneath, given the declining form, but he's one to consider. I'm just a little worried that he'll be an underlay because of all the sentiment towards him. Anarchist is coming in from California, and this is a horse who likes 6.5 furlongs. He's won at the distance. I'm not sure about the top end where that he could that he could win this race. However, if Bango runs like he normally does, that might soften up Hoist the Gold a little bit and Anchor as well, and then that would leave Anarchist with a pretty good shot at taking this down, coming from off the pace. Little concerned that he finishes second an awful lot. Maybe it's just a little too late, something of that nature. But I think he's one you can certainly consider in here, and he does represent a pretty good alternative to Hoist the Gold. Spankster just isn't good enough. I think that's the bottom line to it. He's on his third trainer, and he's had some success in the past, but this field looks like he's a little too much for him, in my opinion. So, to me, he's the easiest toss in the group. Tejano Twist, we know what he wants to do. He's a sprint closer. Seems to be more effective at 6 furlongs. The 7 furlong races he's been in, he hasn't been as good. And so this is kind of meeting in between at 6.5. He didn't run badly the last time. He just doesn't seem like he's quite as good as he used to be. But he's not a horse I'm going to discount. And if Bango decides to just gun it from the gate and runs the kind of fractions that he normally does, then that would certainly make for a favorable situation for Tejano Twist. But to me, I think he's more likely for under in this race. So we take a look at our wagering strategy. As I mentioned, Hoist the Gold is my pick to win this, and that's our primary concern. I'm hoping we're going to get a halfway decent price on him, given some of the other contenders, most notably Close the Game Sugar and Bango, as well as Anchor. That might allow us a little bit of value. We'll hope we get it, and he's the pick to win it. We do it exacto 5 on top with 1 and 7. If you want to key box it, I suppose I could understand, but I'm just going to go for to get the maximum ROI, so that's where we're going. Then we'll do a trifecta 5 on top with 1, 7, Anarchist and Anchor, and then we'll have 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on the bottom. This is a race where there's a lot of options for third place, to be sure. Because mainly for no other reason than the 6.5 furlongs is just such a unique distance. But based upon form and class and everything else, I think Hoist the Gold looks awful good here, and that's my pick to win it.